Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Before we start, I'd like to point out that this webinar will be recorded. If you don't want to participate in the recorded session, you can log out and watch the recording later. It will be published soon afterwards. So let's get this show on the road. My name is João Correia. I'm technical evangelist at AlmaLinux. I have here with me today Igor Soletsky, CEO of AlmaLinux, and Alexander Vinogradov, head of engineering at AlmaLinux. We are going to wait just a couple more minutes for other people to join. And before we start telling you about our progress, it would be interesting to know how you were affected by Red Hat's decision to kill CentOS as a stable platform. We're going to be opening a small poll. There will be 2 questions. That's all the questions we're going to bother you with. And it's just so that we can have a pretty good understanding of what you guys are planning. And for the second question, it's regarding the number of servers that you have that will be affected by the change. Again, this is not supposed to be a scientific measurement, of course. It's just for us to gauge your interest. And I'll be showing the answers that we get afterwards. Yes, indeed, 0 is missing. So for the first one, obviously, it seems people are evaluating other distributions like ours. Thank you for your interest. This is very much in line with what we saw on the website questioning. Okay, so let's get this show on the road for good now. One last thing before we start, feel free to submit your questions during the presentation, either through the Q&A box here on Zoom or on our Reddit community. We will try to answer as many as possible after the presentation. If we miss something and you didn't see your question answered, we will follow up afterwards on Reddit. So we are doing this webinar to give you the latest updates covering the development of AlmaLinux, the CentOS replacement that we at AlmaLinux initiated. We announced this project less than 2 months ago, and it is aimed at anyone who currently relies on CentOS being a stable release and to achieve any type of computing objectives. In other words, individuals and organizations that require an enterprise-grade RPM-based distribution, but who do not want to pay for Red Hat support or don't want to migrate to some other free distribution. During the initial announcement, we ran the poll that I already told you about, and the vast majority of users that responded are thinking about moving to another Red Hat Enterprise Linux fork, 62% in fact. This was a pretty good sign to us that we had something interesting in hand, and it's not entirely surprising to us that as it is today, AlmaLinux is not just a new Linux distribution, but it's also a community of thousands of people with substantial infrastructure and comprehensive packaging that is capable of delivering a new, free, completely free, enterprise-grade operating system, as well as providing valuable testing and feedback that we are using to continually develop the product. We recently released the beta version of AlmaLinux, and that is the main topic for today. We will cover what we intended with the beta, what we released with it, and we'll be talking about the next milestones in the development process. So some housekeeping matters. As I said before, feel free to submit your questions either in Zoom or on the Reddit community. We will follow up on them if we miss them during the webinar. And now I would like to ask Igor Soletsky to say a couple of words explaining why AlmaLinux was initiated in the first place and what is the planned course for this project.
Hello, everyone. I will start by covering the first question I usually get asked. Why did we decide to create AlmaLinux? So there are several reasons why we have decided to step in. First of all, creating AlmaLinux is easy for us. We have already built a fully functional fork of Red Hat 8 several years ago. That is what Cloud Linux OS is. More than 4,000 enterprise clients rely on Cloud Linux products across more than 500,000 installations. Cloud Linux has proven experience in creating and maintaining a Red Hat fork and have done so starting with Red Hat Enterprise Linux 5 right through to release 8. We have several commercial products that depends on availability of stable, widely used enterprise Linux distribution. Associating with AlmaLinux will benefit us in the long run. As an organization, we need to have a free and stable Red Hat-based community-supported Linux to help us in developing our commercial products. And sponsoring this project will give us more credibility in the Linux community and in the enterprise space. But most importantly, we have benefited tremendously from the open source community, and now is our opportunity to give back. AlmaLinux is an opportunity for us to channel our expertise in forking Red Hat into a Linux distribution that serves a broader community. Additionally, we are including the Linux community into the decision-making process right from the inception of AlmaLinux. Moving forward, community members will be on the governing board of the AlmaLinux project and involved in key decision-making. Currently, we're considering consolidating suggestions on how to form the governing board for AlmaLinux. So we will be glad to receive your thoughts regarding it, and you can email them to us to hello@almalinux.org. I want to emphasize that AlmaLinux will always be free and open source. If for any reason we stop the maintenance of AlmaLinux, the community can pick up and continue to develop AlmaLinux at any time. We have no plans to stop, but just in case we want to make sure that you feel secure. Our goal is to create a free, stable, enterprise-grade distribution with long support cycles. We want to be inclusive and make it easy for people to create their own respins of AlmaLinux, so there would be no need for something like Scientific Linux. And instead, it would be based on what we do. We plan to have fast security updates, much faster than what CentOS could deliver. We're on several non-disclosure mailing lists, and we have developers who can apply patches without waiting for Red Hat to release theirs. We will listen to the community and work with the community to develop various alternatives like Zen-supported kernels, mainstream kernel, and similar images. We're ready to listen and work with you. I would like to use this opportunity and say thank you to the community and its involvement so far. We're grateful for the support we received at the initial stage of AlmaLinux and your current involvement in testing. With the infrastructure involvement and maintenance being on us, you will be the one in charge of the future distro development, so we will all depend on your contributions.
Thank you, Igor. I remind you again that you can submit your questions either here on the question box or on Reddit. Right now, I'm going to pass to Alexander so that he can take us through a technical look to the AlmaLinux project.
Thank you, and hello everyone. My name is Alexander, and I will provide a short update for the project readiness. So the good news that we released the beta, and it's now available for the download from our public repos. In terms of infrastructure, we now have our build system that we're using to build the distribution. We have the GitHub bug tracker where you can send the bugs, a wiki, and the website. In terms of core teams that works on the project, we have packaging team responsible for debranding and packaging, have development team which is responsible for the developing of the toolchain, signing and release team, QA and infrastructure team, which is responsible for whole infrastructure of the AlmaLinux. So please move to the next slide. Yeah, so our nearest milestones. The first and main is production release in Q1. I think it will be March, but we will do our best to provide the stable version earlier. The second one is a creation of the governance board, which will be the main decision maker and the voice of the community for us. And the last milestone, or I would say the process, is the involvement of the community in terms of testing. So we'll be very, very happy if you could download the system, try it, and send your feedback. So that was a short update in terms of readiness, and I think we can jump to the questions that we have so far. Right, so first one, will you have CentOS conversion tool? Yes, we will have it, of course, and our target is to build this tool as fast, transparent, and simple as possible. And the current release date is the end of the February. What can I do with AlmaLinux? So AlmaLinux is a fully compatible RHEL fork, so you can perform absolutely same operations in terms of server and desktop in the system. And we also have a plan to certify it to use it in more secure use cases. So we're working with several vendors to make it real. So let's jump to the next one. Yeah, what packages does the beta contain? So beta contains most of the packages according to the Red Hat public repositories. And we plan to continue to support same packages as Red Hat provides to provide compatibility. So in terms of additional packages, we want to follow the decisions that will be made by the community and meet all the requirements of the community in terms of packages. When can the stable version expected? During Q1, as I said, I think it will be March, but we will try to provide it sooner. And it mostly depends on the testing results that we will see and the information that we will receive from the beta testers. Thanks. Yeah, how long will the delay between RHEL releases and AlmaLinux rebases be? Our target is to make it as short as possible, but it's really difficult to forecast the exact time frames or something, but we can talk about the days and weeks instead of months or years. Yeah, so will AlmaLinux have the errata? Yes, of course, in the current and all future releases. Will AlmaLinux support enterprise-grade software like virtualization, databases, and applications, servers, and more? Yes, we plan to pay the special attention to the enterprise-grade software that is available in the Red Hat repositories, and as well we want to pay special attention to the enterprise software that will be provided from external channels, external repositories, and our target is to cover most of the use cases and most of the enterprise-grade software. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. So let's get started with the questions that we have received so far. I remind you that you can still submit them, and if they are not answered here today, they will continue to be replied on Reddit. So let's take a look at what we have already. Will there be a direct migration path from CentOS 7, CentOS 6 to AlmaLinux, or will we need to go to CentOS 8, then to Alma? I believe this was already replied.
No, it wasn't.
In the chat, it wasn't.
Joe, let me take
So
it.
Igor, please.
Yeah, so you can migrate directly from CentOS 8 to AlmaLinux with the script, but if you want to go from CentOS 7 to AlmaLinux, you actually do need to first switch to CentOS 8 and then AlmaLinux. So it would be the best way to go through upgrading to CentOS 8 first.
Thank you. Let's get to the next one. What is AlmaLinux strategy to engage the community? Will it make use of community regions and managers per region like other distros have done? So I'll defer to you again, Igor.
Yeah, we are hiring a new, we hired a new community manager. He's starting next week. We want to delegate him all the work regarding creating communities. And I'm sure he will engage people in different regions and create small, small, big, large communities that are geographically based, language based, interest based around Alma Linux core.
Thank you. Is there any intention to fast track user requests and not just bugs? I can actually provide an answer to that based on something that already happened. Somebody was asking about the high availability repository for CentOS, if we were going to support that. And it's already on the feature list that we have for further versions. Probably not on the final version, but on the version after that. Let's see what else we have here. So what will package management be? YAM, DNF, RPM, something else? Alexander?
The DNF, of course, RPM, and I believe that Red Hat 8 use DNF, so
yeah.
we will use DNF as well, RPM, of course.
Thank you. Will there be a server and a workstation focused version?
We're trying to build a general use distribution now, but if it will be somehow required by our users, I think can think about it.
Oh, if you don't mind. So basically Red Hat Enterprise Linux already has server and workstation focused builds, images. So we're planning to have the ability to do the same. It will be one-to-one Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8. So there will be server edition, workstation edition, minimal version, and other focused versions that you can get directly from the image.
Thank you. One about collaboration platforms. What collaboration platforms will AlmaLinux use apart from Reddit? Something like IRC, Zoom, Teams. Probably something that the new community manager will work on for his plan. So we'll probably have some more information about that in the next week or the one after that. Let's see what else. Okay, this was bound to come up. There is, of course, another huge community-based project happening in parallel to AlmaLinux, Rocky Linux. As such, what advantages will AlmaLinux offer compared to that community-based effort? In other words, why will Alma be better? Igor?
Yeah, it's hard to compare something that exists with something that doesn't. Like there is a Rocky Linux community, but they don't have, I think they so far built 3 or 4 packages, and we actually have a distribution that you can test it. But let's assume that they're building everything and they're quite prompt at it and they're doing a good job overall. One thing that where we're definitely going to be always better is just how fast you get patches for security vulnerabilities. We, because of Cloud Linux, we are on non-disclosure mailing lists, and we know about security vulnerabilities before general public and before Rocky Linux. And we have developers who can take these vulnerabilities and patch them. So we plan to use that availability to benefit AlmaLinux community and deliver security fixes at much better speed than Rocky Linux can. And if we look at CentOS today, they're okay, but they're not great with security patches. It sometimes takes a week or two for them to deliver it. That's something I perceive might happen to Rocky Linux as well, and it's something that will not happen with AlmaLinux.
Thank you, Igor. So we have another one covering the upgrade path. You already covered this. Will ARM be supported in the near future? Alexander?
Yeah, will be.
It will be supported. This, I believe, has already been asked on Reddit as well, and we already provided a reply for that. So do we have plans for cloud images during the beta version? Alexander, we are already delivering some images, some cloud images. I don't know if this one specifically, if this is even a platform specific.
Maybe I can answer. So we have, I believe, already have some. We're definitely looking to make sure that AWS, Google Cloud, Azure are covered. We have Docker images, we have Vagrant images, VMware, VirtualBox. So all of that should be ready before end of February, or at least most of them should be ready before end of February if they're not available yet, because some of them were supposed to be available this week.
Thank you. One about special use cases, if there will be something for AlmaLinux for high performance computing, artificial intelligence, and machine learning workloads. If we have any thoughts on this, Igor?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So the idea is to create special interest groups that will work on creating guidance and figuring out what exactly is needed. So one of the things that I want to avoid is appearance of something like scientific Linux, where scientific community needed their own distribution, which was very similar to CentOS, but just a bit different. So I want to make sure that any such interest groups can create images, recipients, distributions that is specifically geared towards their use cases. But it will be guided through the community, through the governance board, and through the special interest groups within the whole organization.
Alexander, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, Igor already covered the main idea, but what I see the question in the chat. What about PPC 6.4? So in addition to this answer, we discussed it, and the PPC 6.4 basically used for the HPC. And it would be great if you could share more details while you're asking, because that's an interesting topic for us. That's just what I wanted to add.
So feel free to add more, to send us more information about this to hello@almalinux.org, and we'll send it over to the right persons inside. Another one, what does community-driven look like to you? Will we be able to submit code, submit bugs? I think more interaction than the governing board is required, as many view AlmaLinux as a temporary thing. Igor?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And to be honest, we don't know. We really want to involve community as much as possible. So today you already can submit bugs. We are working on open sourcing our build system, and please understand we have been working on our build system for 10 years, so it will take some time. But as soon as we will open source it, you will be able to make changes to it, to do commits to that, etc. I do hope that community will help with documentation, with testing. I do hope that community will be represented well in the governance board. That's part of the challenge for us right now. So what we are doing, we're setting up a nonprofit, and we're trying to figure out which nonprofit, and we're setting up the interim governance board, whose job will be to figure out who the successors will be and what it will look like. But the idea is to create a fully functional open source organization about around AlmaLinux with a strong community involvement and community direction.
Thank you. So once about the migration script, what will the migration scripts do if this is a Red Hat one-to-one? Will it be only changing repositories? Alexander?
Of course, it will change repositories, and we're we're finishing investigation or research, and we will share more information later, I guess.
I have the information. So basically, the conversion script is quite simple. We switch the repository and we switch the signing keys, GPG key that they use to verify that the packages are signed by the right party, right authority. That's basically it. There is no other changes. There is no restarts. There is no reboots. There is no processes needs to be stopped or started. Nothing. So it will be very transparent and very easy, and can be done in mass for large number of servers.
Thank you. Is any university programs ongoing? How many universities are evaluating? Before I ask for an answer to this, we don't have that specific type of information from all the people that are evaluating. Anybody can download it and test it on their systems. Igor, do you know if we have any university specifically doing any evaluation?
I don't. So we're very heavy on talking with vendors. We're trying to engage them and talk to them, but we really don't know who is testing it because we have no registration. We have no home pinging back, etc. I hope they are, and I'm pretty sure they are testing. But we really don't collect this information at all, nor we plan to collect such information, like who's actually using it or testing it, because it's just, I think it would ruin trust, to be honest.
Thank you. One for Alex. Can you share more information about the build system setup?
Depends from what information is necessary, but what I can say, we're using our own in-house build system, which is based on the Python and several tools. We're using Ansible, we're using a lot of different software inside. I believe we uncovered part of information before the beta release on the Reddit. I think it was provided on the Reddit. And we want to uncover more information a bit later and describe how it looks like now, how we see it in the future, and what we will provide for the community.
Thank you. Someone is asking how wide is the repositories? I believe it's the size of the repositories, the data size. Do you have an idea?
No idea in terms of gigabytes, but it's the same as Red Hat repositories, absolutely a copy.
Thank you. And somebody asking about compatibility with Oracle XE, the database. Igor, do you know if you have any plans for this, or it's one special case?
Yeah, that's a very difficult question to ask, to say. We don't know how Oracle will react. So in theory, it should work if you trick Oracle into thinking it is CentOS, Red Hat, etc. So it should work. But on the other hand, there is no reason for Oracle to support AlmaLinux. They have their own Oracle Linux that they are trying to push on everyone. So it's hard to say, will they be playing nicely with us and onboard us, or will they go into the position that, no, we don't want to play with any new forks of Red Hat? And we don't know. I think if community demands, or if customers demand from them, at some point they'll give up and will support it.
Yeah, I think there are two parts of the question. Of course, we want, but depends from the Oracle in terms of certifications. So it may take a time.
Thank you. So a few more. Will the additional community packages be optional or come with the default Alma release? Alexander?
I'm not sure that I got what is additional.
I got it. So,
You did?
so I think it will be up to the steering committee to decide this question. I really want to focus at this moment on doing stable one-to-one distribution. All the extra packages like EPEL, CentOS Extra, and similar ones, we can decide about it once there is a governance board, and it will be their role to make such policies.
I believe this covers the next question as well.
So let me see, what additional features will be included with the base Alma release outside of the Red Hat providing? Yeah, you're right, nothing. We are not planning to do anything at this moment. We are planning to have a governance board that will make such decisions. And once we have these decisions, we will implement those decisions based on which direction community wants us to go.
Okay, next one. Will there be a paid structure at some point, for example, for support?
Yeah, so
Igor?
AlmaLinux is going to be a non-profit organization. Will there be a commercial support? We are talking to several vendors who provide commercial support for CentOS today. We're evaluating what kind of support they're providing and what kind of, and we're talking to people to understand what kind of support they want to see from AlmaLinux. And there is multiple options. So we're thinking about third parties. We're thinking that maybe we can provide the same level of support as we are providing for Cloud Linux for those people who want us Cloud Linux. But AlmaLinux itself will be free, non-profit, and the organization of AlmaLinux, the non-profit, will not offer support. Will there be other vendors around it? Will Cloud Linux be one of those vendors who offer support? We don't know yet.
Yeah. Will there be a live Alma version? I believe they're referring to a live DVD image or something like that.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay. Will the images be available on public clouds like AWS, Azure, or Google Cloud?
So I believe I already was talking about that, but let me repeat that. Some of them should be available maybe even now, or they're going through the approval process at those clouds. We're working on them like right this moment.
What about advantages comparing to Oracle Linux server? Oh, I know that one. It doesn't start with Oracle.
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer. I mean, Oracle is a decent team. The only thing you have to worry about Oracle is that they're not planning to move Oracle Linux into non-profit. And will they at some point start charging you for using Oracle Linux? It's for you to decide, you know, Oracle as well as everyone else.
Thank you. Is there any risk that Red Hat would make it more difficult to maintain an up-to-date Red Hat 8 clone without violating the GNU GPL? Igor.
Yeah, so Red Hat was actually doing that for the past 3-4 years. So if before they would redistribute everything as source RPM, which was very easy to rebuild, then they moved to Git. They also stopped publishing all the necessary dependency RPMs. So Red Hat was doing, was working on that for quite some time. It's hard to say if they continue doing that or not. I think that if they want to keep their own people working for them, they will make sure that they don't go too far and don't kill themselves as an open source company, because that's all they have. On the other hand, Cloud Linux is strong enough that even if that happens, we can still maintain it. We have enough developers, we have enough maintainers to go through barriers that Red Hat might be hiding.
Okay, so are we planning on FIPS 142 certification for AlmaLinux?
Yes, that's actually one of the certifications that we're planning to do. We had several requests for that, and that's why we think corporate sponsorship is actually very important because it costs money. It's a long process where you need dedicated people, and we're planning to go through that.
Thank you. Will AlmaLinux support or create security policy profiles like the ones for CentOS?
Yeah, it already was asked about. So I think we will add.
Okay, will this session be published to YouTube? We will be publishing this to our social media outlets. We will let you know on Reddit and the website where it's published. But yeah, it will be easy to find the recording for this. Somebody said that Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 modularity would cause problems for the rebuilds. Do we have a comment about that?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, of course, it makes it more difficult, but we already did it. So you can test our beta. It has all the modularities there. All the modules are already rebuilt. You can, so what modularity means is that you can run one version of MySQL or completely different version of MySQL, same with PHP, and a lot of tools. If you want to use fresher versions, there is this modularity where you can switch to a completely different version. So all of those versions that Red Hat supports already available as part of AlmaLinux beta.
Okay, another one about the migration tool. If we will have a migration tool from Oracle Linux 8 to AlmaLinux besides the tool for CentOS. Basically, the tool will be generic enough that it can be applied to any distribution. I don't know if you guys want to add anything, but just the tool to switch to repositories and the GPG keys, it cannot be applied to anything, basically. Okay, is FIP certification planned? We already covered that. It will. Will there be commercial support? We already covered that as well. What do we think about the Roadkill Linux project? We already covered that, except for the part if we want to collaborate with them. I don't know if we addressed that or not.
I can talk
Igor?
about that. So I tried to reach out to them, and I reached out and we spoke, but the problem is that by the time we were able to talk, Rocky Linux team already knew well what they want to do from technical side, and it was very different from what we tried to do or what we wanted to do from our side. So we kind of realized that it doesn't make sense for us to join them because we don't know if they're going to be successful with their plan. There is a lot of risk involved. We know that we will be successful with our plan because we did it with Cloud Linux before. We have a stable Red Hat fork of 8 for 2 years now, 3 years now. So we knew that we can deliver much better product in much shorter time by not joining them and not hashing out all the technical differences. I hope that as time passes, it's going to be one distro, not 2 distros.
Thank you. We will be supporting x86 64, ARM64, and PowerPC. We already covered this. We will be covering the first 2 distributions. For PowerPC, we would love to hear about your use cases, so feel free to send us information about your needs to hello@almalinux.org. Will it be possible to migrate from CentOS 8.2 to AlmaLinux 8.3 or 8.x, and will it be supported? We will have all this information regarding the migration path with the migration tool.
So you will be able to upgrade from any CentOS 8 to AlmaLinux. It doesn't matter which version.
And the last one that we have on the Q&A box, you talked about Docker images. Will this be a full AlmaLinux image or something small like Alpine Linux?
So for now, we have a full AlmaLinux image, but in the future, I'm pretty sure there is going to be interest in doing something like atomic images. And yeah, it's in the future. I see a few more questions. Joe, do you want me to, I see a few more questions in the pipeline.
Sure.
Yeah, so there is a question, are we using the same Koji MBS system for AlmaLinux that CentOS used to build stuff? So no, we actually have a homegrown system that is significantly more advanced. It solves a lot of problems related to rebuilding. It allows us to rebuild faster, to make more consistent rebuilds, and solve issues in more automated way. Will you folks be contributing fixes from AlmaLinux to CentOS stream to get things fixed in the Red Hat ecosystem? That would be great. If there is going to be people who want to do that stuff, meaning take whatever we fixed and push it into CentOS stream, terrific. Arch 64 support, yes. Will there be a tool to migrate to Oracle Linux? That was answered. FIPS answered. Commercial support packages, so we don't know yet who will be doing them, but yes, they're just not going to be tied directly to AlmaLinux. Yeah, I think we're done.
I believe we covered all the questions that we received. If you remember something else after the webinar, feel free to post it on Reddit. We'll pick it up afterwards. So we will wrap it up now. Thank you everybody for joining and contributing to this. Thank you, Igor. Thank you, Alexander, for providing the vision and the details around AlmaLinux. And once again, this is a community-driven project. We will be grateful if you go out and test the beta right now if you haven't done it. And please report anything that you find that isn't working properly. It will make us improve the project. And we would like to continue speaking with you on Reddit and through hello@almalinux.org. Thank you, everybody.
Joe, give me 1 second. So there is someone who said that in chat that we didn't answer his question. So let me see if the question is from
What
Ken.
did we miss?
Yeah, I think there was some more questions at chat. Okay.
There one more question.
There is, of course, another huge community-based project.
We covered that one.
Yeah, we covered Rocky Linux in detail, but as such, what advantages AlmaLinux? Yeah, it was one of the first questions I believe I covered. So let me just repeat. The main difference is going to be that we can deliver patches faster, and especially security patches. We can deliver them faster than AlmaLinux, than CentOS, than Rocky Linux and CentOS. And to be honest, we simply don't know if Rocky Linux will actually deliver. That's another thing. And there is device driver support for latest Intel adapters. So we're actually speaking today, not today, but right now with AMD team. We're not speaking with Intel yet about latest hardware support, because we do see that sometimes Red Hat is behind, and we want to make sure that you can use whatever hardware you want, maybe by using different kernel, but it should be available.
Okay, so thank you, everybody. Thank you, Igor. Thank you, Alexander. The recording will be up shortly on our social media outlets. Thank you, everybody, for attending. It was a pleasure. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.